Next. Good morning, all. It is indeed my great pleasure to welcome among us the alumnus of this institute, Mr. Swapnil Pawar. We are really thankful to him for taking the time out of his busy schedule to attend this session. So before we proceed, I would like to give a brief introduction of Swapnil. He graduated from VIT in the field of chemical engineering in the year 2018, after which he worked as a project engineer at FEBS International Limited for 1.5 years and worked in Pernod Ricard, India for 6 months. Next. Next slide. Alongside his work, he was preparing for the toughest examination of the country, UPSC, which he qualified with flying colors in his first attempt. He secured AIR 635 in UPSC at first attempt, which is a marvelous achievement. Apart from his achievement, he has added some more feathers in his cap. He has cleared GATE in the year 2018. He was featured in the list of Economics Times Campus Star Award Hunt for India's Best Engineering Talent. Currently, he is undergoing a job and is in the training phase in the National Academy of Indian Railways. He will be giving some useful insights into his approach towards learning and will try to cover your queries. We deeply welcome you, Swapnil. Please accept this virtual bouquet as a token of gratitude. Thank you. Now we will proceed with today's session, that is UPSC and its preparation. Over to you, Aparna ma'am.
Thank you, Gayatri ma'am. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, visible. Thank you. So, DT Maharashtra has taken good initiative to spread awareness about the competitive examination among the students. And under this activity, we have scheduled this session on civil services and its preparation. The Union Public Service Commission, it is an autonomous body, came into existence on 26 Jan 1950. The commission conducts competitive examination on all India basis for recruiting to the various posts in the field of civil services, engineering, medical, forest services, like civil service examination, Indian Forest Service examination, combined defense service examination, engineering service examination. So that's why today we have scheduled a session on the how to do the preparation of civil service examination. The points that we are going to cover: the UPSC introduction, eligibility criteria, employment opportunities, civil service exam pattern, syllabus, and the subjects. Then we are moving towards the CDS, the eligibility criteria for CDS, exam pattern, syllabus, subject, the pay scale of the CDS, and IES. So all of we know that UPSC conducts civil service examination every year, which is the most sought after exam of the country. Lakhs of aspirants every year attempt the exam and only few manage to get through it. The exam itself is a very tough experience for the aspirants due to the benefits of the service offers. The candidates are often very excited about IS salary, their job profile, the perks these services provide to those who clear the exam and become the officers. Even if the facilities given to IS officer can be matched by other professions, but the power that the IS officer gets and the command, it's unique. So IS officers usually have the change of the administration of an entire district, state, department, and the ministry. This is a huge responsibility, and a lot of people depend on them to function effectively and efficiently. So they have the power to bring about positive changes in the lives of people. They can influence policies on the social initiatives, education, health, and the economy. And this power to serve the people and the country is unmatched. Only the Indian Administrative Service gives the opportunity to take direct and active part in the progress of the country. So that's why most of the students are trying to become as an IS officer. So before moving proceed, now we want to focus on what is the eligibility criteria for civil services. So the minimum educational qualification should be a bachelor's degree or the graduation in any discipline. from UGC or AICTE recognized university or the institute. The minimum age limit is 21 to 32 years. But yes, there is an age relaxation for SC and ST students. There is an age relaxation of 5 years. For OBC and defense services personnel, the age relaxation is 3 years. For ex-servicemen, it is 5 years. And for physically handicapped candidate, it is 10 years. Now, at max, how many number of attempts can be given by the candidates? So, for a general category, they have the 6 attempts till the age of 32 years, whereas for OBC student, they have the 9 attempts till the age of 35 years, whereas for SC and ST candidate, they have unlimited attempts till the age of 37 years, whereas for physically candidates and disabled candidates belonging to the general category, they can have the benefit of 9 years till the age of 42 years. Now, those who are the eligible candidates who wants to appear for the examination, yes, they can go through the UPSC online application portal, that is https://upsconline.nic.in. The last date of receipt of application for CSE, that is Civil Service Examination, which is prelim examination, it was 24th of March 2020. So, but the examination will be get conducted on the 27th of June 2021. The result of the prelim will be announced tentatively at the end of the July 2021. Those who will clear the prelim examination, it will be possible for them to appear for the mains examination, which will be held during 17th of September to 22nd of September. And the tentative result date for the mains examination is December end or probably Jan 2022. The number of vacancies for the these posts are nothing but for them the 900. Now, about the fee structure. So, for prelim examination, 100 rupees, and for a mains examination, 200 rupees is the fees. So, this 100 and 200 rupees fees, it is for the general, EWS, and the OBC candidates, whereas SC, ST, PWD, and the female candidates are exempted from the fees payment. Now, what are the different employment opportunities we may get after clearing this examination? So, at the start, as I said, IAS, Indian Police Service, Indian Forest Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian Post, Telegraph Accounts and Finance Service, Indian Audit and Account Service, Indian Custom and Central Excise Service, Indian Revenue Service, Indian Audience Practice Service, Indian Postal Service, Indian Civil Account Service. In Indian Railways also they can get the opportunities, Post of Assistant Security Officer, Indian Defense Estate Service, Indian Information Service, Central Trade Service, and the post of the Assistant Commandant in the Central Industrial Security Force. So they can have different opportunities in the different fields. Now, whenever we are saying civil service, so basically civil service, this CSC exam gets conducted once in a year. So it's basically divided into the 3 stages. The first stage is nothing but for then the first stage is the preliminary examination, which is objective based. The second stage is nothing but for then mains examination, which is a subjective, and the last stage is the personality or the interview test. So whenever we are saying the prelim examination, the question papers of the prelim examination are set in English and Hindi. So the papers for the prelim examination are nothing but for them. So basically this whenever we are saying prelim examination, it consists of the 2 papers of the kind objective. Each paper is having the 200 marks. So we can say the exam is of the 400 marks. The total duration for the exam will be 2 hours. The first paper, it is general studies paper, whereas the second paper, it is CSAT, that is nothing but for them civil services aptitude test. So general studies paper consists of the 100 questions, whereas civil service aptitude test, it consists of the 80 questions. So to qualify the paper of the CSAT prelims paper, you need to score more than 33% or 66 marks. So both papers have the negative marks for the wrong answers, whereas if the question is left or unattempted, So in that case, no marks will be get deducted. So this is the structure of what in the prelim examination. Now, what are the contents under the GS1 and under the CSAT paper? So the main motto or the main intention to conduct the test is the general to check or to test the general awareness of a candidate in a wide range of subjects that include current events of the national and international importance, history of India and Indian national movement, Indian and the world geography, like physical, social, economical geography of India and the world, Indian polity and the governance, which contains constitution, political system, panchayat raj, public policy, right issues, etc. Then economic and the social development, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics, social sector initiative, etc. And the last is the general issues on the environmental ecology, biodiversity, and the climate change. So these are the contents of the GS1 paper. Now, second, it is the CSAT paper. So which plays a major role because it is taken into consideration as a qualifying paper. So a student should secure the 66 marks or the 33% mark over here. So the main intention is to assess the aptitude of the candidate in solving reasoning and the analytical questions, reading comprehension, and the decision-making questions, which contain
Madam,
comprehension.
I'll just interrupt you.
Yes.
Let us appeal the students to write the questions in the question answer window, Q&A. All of you can see Q&A section. So please type your questions here, and Swapnil will be giving the answers to these questions. So the questions, let the questions be visible to all, and Swapnil will also answer the in a way that they will be visible to all. So this question answer window will be giving you answers to most of the questions. And there is a request from participants that we can be little faster. So Aparna, we can go a little fast
Oh,
if we
sorry,
can.
ma'am. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. The second CSAT paper, it consists of comprehension, interpersonal skills, including the communication skills, logical reasoning and the analytical ability, decision making and the problem solving, general mental ability, basic numeracy, which includes the numbers, their relations, order of magnitudes, which is 10th level syllabus. And the last is the data interpretation, which is again nothing but more than the 10th level syllabus. So this consists of the paper 1 and paper 2 of the prelim examination, which consists of the 200 marks. The duration of the examination, it is the 2 hours. The first GS paper will be there, and then in a second half, the CSAT paper will be there. So now once the after clarifying or after qualifying the prelim examination, the candidates would allow to go for the mains examination. So we can say mains examination, it is the second phase of the civil service examination. The mains exam, it tests the candidate's academic talent in depth and his or her ability to present his or her understanding according to the requirements of the question in a time-bound manner. The UPSC mains exam, it consists of 9 papers, out of which 2 papers are qualifying papers of 300 marks each, and 7 are the ranking papers. So total, we have 9 papers, out of which 2 are considered as qualifying papers, whereas 7 are considered as ranking papers. So whatever the 2 qualifying papers are, those are the non-ranking papers, which consist of paper A, which can be any Indian language, having the weightage of 300 marks, whereas the second is the paper B, which is mandatory, which is a English language paper, which is again of the 300 marks. So paper A and paper B, these are the 2 qualifying papers. So candidates who have scored a minimum of 25 marks in the paper A and paper B. Otherwise, their marks in other subjects will not be taken into consideration. So moving towards the structure of these 2 papers, paper A and paper B. So the structure of the language paper is, as the paper it is of 300 marks. So first there will be an essay writing having a weightage of 100 marks. The second, it's a reading comprehension component having a weightage of 60 marks. The third, it is a precise writing having weightage of 60 marks. The fourth component, it is translation, that is English to any compulsory language selected by the candidate, having the weightage of 20 marks, and the vice versa. Whatever the language selected by the candidate, again conversion to the English, that is translation from compulsory language to the English language, having a weightage of 20 marks. And then last is the grammar and the basic language usage, that is the 40 marks. So this is the structure of paper A and paper B. Now next, moving towards the 7 ranking papers. So the first, it is paper 1, that is essay, which is having a weightage of 250 marks. So whatever the 7 ranking papers we do have, all are having a weightage of 250 marks. Second paper, it is General Studies 1, which contains Indian heritage and culture, history and geography of the world and the society. Third paper, it is General Studies 2, which contains governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. The fourth paper, it is General Studies 3, which contains technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security, and disaster management. Next, fifth paper, it is General Studies 4, which contains ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Next, we have paper 6, which is optional subject, and again paper 7, which is again the optional subject. So here the candidate is supposed to select a one optional subject. I will show the list for the same, and then 2 papers will be there for that optional subject. So if we look at here, whatever the 7 papers we do have, each one having a weightage of 250 marks. So what are the optional subjects that the candidate can select? So candidate has to select any one of subject as an optional subject, but they supposed to appear for 2 papers for this optional subject. So we do have agriculture, animal husbandry and veterinary science, anthropology, botany, chemistry, commerce and accountancy, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, economics, electrical engineering, geography, geology, Indian history, law, management, medical science, mathematics, political science, and international science, relations, zoology, sociology, public administration, physics, philosophy. So these are the subjects. Out of this, any one subject can be selected by the candidate as an optional subject, but they have to appear twice for this subject. 2 papers will be there for this subject. Now, whenever I said English paper, paper A and paper B. So here, 2 qualifying papers, paper A and paper B. So paper B, it is English language, which is mandatory. But second, paper A is nothing but for any Indian language. So candidates can select. They can select any one of the following language as a literature. Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmir, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Oriya, Punjabi, means the original language of their state. They can select as their own language. So whatever the paper will be there, the paper will be a kind of a conventional essay type. The duration for the examination, it will be of the 3 hours. The question paper will be set in a Hindi and English language only, excluding the literature language, which we supposed to select as a paper A over here. So if we see here, we do have total 7 as a ranking papers, each one having a weightage of 250 marks. So 7 into 250, that becomes 1750 marks. So mains examination consists of 1750 marks, and the third stage of the UPSC exam, that is nothing but for then the personality test or the personal interview, which is having a weightage of for then 275 marks. So total becomes 2025 marks. So the third stage of UPSC exam pattern is nothing but for then the personality test or the interview. So 275 marks are there in the UPSC examination pattern. The candidates who qualify the UPSC mains exam will be called for the personality test or the interview. The purpose of the UPSC interview is to test the candidate's mental and the emotional awareness about the happenings around him or her, along with his or her knowledge, which was proved in the UPSC mains examination. The interview is conducted by the panel of 5 people headed by the UPSC member, and the other 4 people are the experts in their respective fields. So as I said, the interview test will be having a weightage of 275 marks and the written examination of 1,750 with sum of the grand total of 2,025 marks. Based on this, the final merit list will be prepared. So this is all about the exam pattern of the UPSC examination. The first stage, it is a prelim. The second one is the mains examination, and third one is nothing but for them the personal or the personality interview. Now, those who are interested to appear for the examination, sometimes, yes, we know the students who are aspirant of the UPSC, they are from the different backgrounds. Some can be belonging to minorities, some can be from SC/ST category or the economically backward. Yes, so for that purpose, yes, government has provided the provision. So free coaching under a central government scheme, the students belonging to SC, OBC and minorities are get provided. So yes, we do have different institutes. So we have SIAC, that is State Institute for Administrative Careers in Mumbai. So the main objective of the SIAC is to encourage the university graduates, especially those from the rural areas and more backward sections of the society, to seek a career in higher public services appropriate to their abilities and the potential through the competitive exams, which are conducted by the UPSC to provide the assistance, guidance, and the training and coaching to enable intending candidates to prepare themselves academically, to promote and assist the development in the universities and in the College of Maharashtra, which are required for such kind of competitive examination. So first institute is the SIAC, which is in Mumbai. Then second, we do have BARTI, that is Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar Research and the Training Institute. So BARTI organizes the coaching for UPSC, MPSC and other competitive exams for the SC candidates. Then third, we have the Yashoda, Yashwantrao Chauhan Academy of Development Administration in Pune. So Yashoda, we can say under Yashoda, so many policies or so many policies are there which can be given to the SC, OBC and the minority student. So under BARTI, whatever the students they are selected for the different scholarship or for the coaching, they send them Yashoda for the coaching classes. And then last one, we do have the Sarthi. So this is mainly for the Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj Research Training and the Human Development Institute in Pune. So mainly this is for the socio-economical who are from Maratha and Kundi Maratha community in the Maharashtra state. So yes, a government has a government providing the support, or they are encouraging the students from different levels for providing the guidance and the coaching classes for SC, OBC and the minority students for the UPSC and the MPSC, such kind of the competitive examination. So this is all about the UPSC. Now we move towards the Combined Defense Services. Over to you, Gayatri ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Aparna ma'am. So Combined Defense Services, that is CDS, this exam is conducted by Union Public Service Commission twice every year for recruitment to office cadre of the Army, Navy and Air Force. Next slide. Depending upon the choice given by the candidates in their merit list ranking, they are sent to one of the following institutes for orientation training. There are 5 institutes: IMA, that is Indian Naval Academy, Dehradun; Indian Naval Academy, Ejimala; Air Force Academy, Chennai, Madras. There are 2 officers training academy, that is called OTA, That one is, both are located in Chennai, Madras. Here I want to mention that women candidates are only eligible for OTA Chennai, and other these all three academies that is for male candidates. Next slide. More information regarding this game. Do joining a three institute a permanent get short service permission. So applicants are required to mention their preferences while filling up the application form. Nowadays, in order to
Gayatri, I'm sorry to disturb you. Your voice is not clearly audible.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Now you are.
Okay. So, in order to match the eligibility criteria, you need to fall under one of the following categories. A candidate must either be a citizen of India, a subject of Bhutan, a subject of Nepal, a Tibetan refugee who came over to India before January 1, 1962, with the of permanently settling in India, or a person of Indian origin who has migrated from Pakistan, Burma, Sri Lanka, and East African countries or Vietnam with the intention of permanently settling in India. Next slide. The age limit for the respective academies is mentioned below. Like for Indian Military Academy, IMA, the age limit is 18 to 23 years. For Indian Naval Academy also it is 18 to 23 years. And for AFA, Air Force Academy, it is 20 to 24 years. But for all these academy, the unmarried men is only eligible. Next. Next slide. Now we move to the educational qualification for the respective academies. That is as follows. For IMA and Officers Training Academy, Chennai, the candidate should have a degree of a recognized university or equivalent. For INA also, degree in engineering from any recognized university or institution are eligible. For AFA, Air Force Academy, degree of a recognized university, but there is a condition: the candidate should have 10+2 level with physics and mathematics or Bachelor of Engineering. Next slide. Now, as I mentioned, CDS is national level entrance exam that is conducted twice a year. So first in the month of February and second in the month of November. Now the first exam has been done. Now we'll move to the second exam. So here I have mentioned some important dates like date of notification, date of for receipt of application, duration of exam or date of exam, and the link where the application form is available, and fees, examination fees, that is around 200 rupees. So the important dates are like date of notification will be on 4th of August 2021. Last date for receipt of application will be 24th of August, and date of exam is 14 November 2021, that is on Sunday. There is one more important thing: the SC, ST and female candidates are exempted from fee payment, and the payment submission is available on both offline and online mode. Next slide. Now we'll move to the exam pattern. So the exam pattern is follows. There are 3 subject papers like English, General Knowledge and Elementary Mathematics for 100 marks weightage having duration of 2 hours. This is for IMA, INA and AFA. While for OTA, there are 2 subject papers of one is for English and another is General Knowledge for 100 marks weightage and having the duration for 2 hours. So candidate who qualify written exam will be called for interview, and who qualify interview will be called for medical test. Once their medical test is passed, and UPSC will publish the test. Next slide. Now the important part is CDS salary. CDS salary 2020, whatever I have got, that is candidates on clearing CDS exam undergo cadet training during which the office in Army, Navy and equivalent posts get fixed stipend, which is the base salary in level 10. There are different levels. So the minimum level is level 10. The starting salary of CDS is around 56,100 per month. This is a basic salary. Apart from this salary, they are entitled to various allowances and perks as well, like dearness allowance, flying allowance, uniform allowance, high altitude allowance are a few allowances that officers get besides the CDS salary. Next slide. Now the stipend after clearing the exam along with the different allowances are as follows. If you see in this table, the CDS pay scales are given according to their rank. If you see, the minimum is the lieutenant, and the highest post is COS, that is nothing but Chief of Army Staff. So lieutenant is having the pay level of 10, that is the pay scale 56,100, and the COS is around 2,50,000 fixed per month, and that is level 18. So according to their seniority, the pay level will increase and their rank will also improve. Next slide. Further, we have IAS. IAS, that is nothing but engineering, Indian Engineering Services or Engineering Services Examination EA, comprised of engineers under the Government of India and designated as Class 1 officer. They administer a large segment of the public sector. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. So they administer a large segment of the public sector economy, which constitutes of Indian Railways, Power Telecommunications, Central Water Engineering, Defense Service of Engineers, Central Engineering Service, namely, and ESA exam Group A. Actually, we are saying for this IAS candidates, the service post, a combined competitive examination is conducted by the UPSC for recruitment to the IAS. The gross salary, if we consider for IAS, that is around 64,749 rupees. Next slide. Category 2, mechanical engineering. Category 3, electrical engineering, and 4th is electronics and telecommunication engineering. So for these 4 core branches, the IAS exams should be conducted. Now, by clearing the IAS exam, what post the candidate can get? So if you see in this slide, the first post is Indian Railway Service of Engineers, then Indian Railway Store Service, Central Engineering Service, or Group A, Survey of India Group A Service AE in Border Road Engineer Service, or Indian Defense Service of Engineers AE, and Indian Skill Development Services. Next slide. So for mechanical engineering also, if you see, it is the Indian Railway Service of Mechanical Engineering. So what I have observed for these all 4 core branches, the posts are same. If you see that Indian Railway Store Service, or maybe the Indian Skill Development Service, but some like Central Water Engineering or Central Power Engineering. So the posts are same, but their work is different because their field is different. So the posts are same, but for electrical engineer also, the Indian Railway Service of Electrical Engineer will be there. For mechanical engineer, it will be Indian Railway Service of Mechanical Engineers. Next slide. Similarly, that which I have mentioned for electrical engineering, these 2 posts are common. The first 2 posts are common. Then Naval Store Officer Grade 1, that is also common. Central Power Engineering Service is also common, but that is for electrical engineering. Next slide. Similarly, for category 4, electronics and telecommunication engineering, also the post is Indian Railway Store Service is common, but the Indian Radio Regulatory Service Grade A, Indian Telecommunication Service Grade A, Indian Naval Armament Service, that is for electronics and telecommunication engineer assistant, Naval Store Officer Grade 1 in Indian Navy, Central Power Engineering Service Grade A, Indian Skill Development Service Junior Telecom Officer Grade B, and Central Power Engineering Service Grade B. So these are the some posts which is offered to the candidate who is selected. Next slide. Now we'll move to the our alumni. So in the following slide, we have the list of alumni. We have Mr. Salil Bijur. He is working as a Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax. Next slide. Ms. Riya Sarkar. She is passed out from 2017 batch. She is lieutenant in Corps of Signal in Indian Army. Next. Next is Mr. Mandar Patki, secured AIR 22 in first attempt and presently taking training in Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration in Mussoorie. Next slide. Mr. Nitish Suri, he is a Deputy Director General of Foreign Trade at Government of India. This is all about UPSC, CDS and IES preparation. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gawande madam, and thank you, Mete madam, for a wonderful and very exhaustive information. You have shared exhaustive information with the students. Now I'll request Swapnil. Swapnil has been very patiently answering all the questions in this question answer window. And we can see, Swapnil, students, they have questions mainly based on the exam, the elective subjects the student should select, and how to prepare, especially how to go for faster preparation, how to go for smart study. So I'll now request Swapnil to kindly give your inputs to the students. Mete madam, we can stop sharing.
Good morning, all. Am I audible?
Yes.
You're audible.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Swati ma'am, Gayatri ma'am, and Mete ma'am for having me here. It's a really wonderful experience always to come to VIT and share some inputs. Okay. I've been seeing all the questions that put by the students. So first of all, I would like to clear that I am not the right person to guide you about engineering services exam and the CDS exam. But I'll try my best to give my inputs for the civil services exam, for which I have experience. Okay, so most of the questions are about the preparation, how to do preparation, when to start preparation, how to manage the time while being at a college, how to manage the studies being at a work, and what kind of books and resources should be used for the studies. Okay, so I'll try to answer those one by one. First of all, let us come to the resources. So for the resources, I'll not go details. What I'll do, I have a very exhaustive compile list of resources that can be used for each and every topic. I have already compiled a list, and I'll share that list with Swati ma'am or Gayatri ma'am, and hopefully they will share with you. So that question will be answered there in very detail. And if you have any doubts or queries over what resources exactly to be referred, you can always email me on my email ID. I'll share that with Swati ma'am and Gayatri ma'am too. Okay. So resources that will take care of the resources and the sources that you need to refer for the exam. The second thing is there was one question: how do you balance the challenges in the exam? Now, as far as the civil services is concerned, the process of exam itself take around 1 year. So starting from the prelims to the final result, in end-to-end exam cycle is of 1 year. And before that, you need to have at least 1.5 years of preparation, because syllabus is so vast that this much time you will be requiring for the preparation. So the total time taken by the exam is around 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years, if you crack in first attempt, of course. So there's quite a high mental challenge how you will be sustaining these efforts. Okay, and for that you need to do a proper planning. I'll share the email ID later on. Okay, so for this you need to prepare a plan for almost 1.5 years, and it is very important to go to studies on daily basis rather than doing it in one go, because in engineering we have a habit of doing the studies just before the exam. That's what we do in engineering, right? So this is not to be done in civil service exam, or for that matter, even in EAC and CDS. What you need to do is doing little preparation every day, like breaking those syllabus in small parts and doing it every day on sustainable basis. That is what very important for this exam. And more you do it on a sustainable basis, more is the high is the chances of success. Even Mandar, who is my batchmate only from mechanical engineering, he was doing the preparation almost for 3 to 4 years, right? So his mantra is the same, that you need to do preparation on daily basis. You need to put a daily efforts. Second thing is now when to start the preparation. Okay, so ideally I started my preparation in final year of exam. My main focus being at an engineering college was to get a good placement, and to I really liked engineering, so I was very good at learning stuff too. I was enjoying the college. I took part in all extracurricular activities, all the events like Milanj, Vishwakaranda, very enthusiastically. So till the final year of college, I wasn't very sure that I wanted to do the civil services exam. Before that, I had tried my hands in the since second year, I was doing internships in the chemical field. So I had a very pretty good idea of what kind of fields are there in the chemical industry where I can work. So I had a experience of designing engineering through internship. I had experience of production. I had experience of some projects. So I know that what kind of work I will be doing after the graduation. So in the final year of college, where I started thinking that what I wanted to do for for my career. And then I come across the civil services exam, the opportunities it gave. For example, I want to join the Indian Foreign Service. So that was my aim. That is my aim. That I realized in my final year of college. And then in the final year after my placement, I started preparing for this exam. Now, if your aim is clear that you want to pursue the civil services, I'll advise you to start preparing in the third year or final year, not before that. Means there are aspirants who go for the civil services preparation right from their first year of college. But as far as my experience is concerned, and what I think, that you don't need a 4 years or 5 years of preparation, right? For example, if you start in the first year of college, you will be giving your exam, first exam in the fourth year. That is after 3 years of your preparation. Till the time you may feel exhausted, right? Because you will be repeating the process. You will be reading the same stuff again and again for a lot of the time. And it may happen that the preparation fatigue might take a toll on you, and you may not do good in exam itself. So there are problems of starting very early, and there are problems with starting very late. So as far as my views are concerned, I will be recommending you to start your preparation in the third or final year of college. Okay, because this is the time when you start thinking about what you want to do in the life. It is many times in the first year or second year, we don't even have an idea of what you will be doing. We don't even have an idea of what kind of work profiles are there in the industry. Okay, so in the third year, we get a very fairly good idea of what we want to do. And to get this idea, I'll recommend you to do the internship in the engineering and non-engineering backgrounds. Now, VIT is something which offers you the time and, of course, the support to do so, right? This is very good thing about our college. So do the internships in engineering, non-engineering field in your second year, first year, or third year. So you will be getting the idea whether you really wanted to do the civil services. Because I have seen the candidates who regret after the so many years of preparation that they never wanted to do this. But because of the pressure from family members or the false sense of advertisement from the coaching classes, they got into this field. Right, so this shouldn't be happening with you, because civil services, it's a very glorified area. Everyone will be telling you about very good sides of civil services. Of course, there are very good, better sides, but preparation, you must not get into that trail. Like there are various coaching classes. They will be giving you, guarantee that you will be succeeding in the civil services exam. But the real aspect is, the practical aspect is, the success rate is very low in the exam, and you must be very aware about it. I'm not demotivating anyone here, but I wanted to bring your attention to the real aspect of the preparation. Because the success rate is low, you need to be very aware of what you are doing, right? And so that before you start the preparation, you should be very confident that yes, you wanted to do this and you will be giving this many years for the preparation. Okay, so take that decision very, very consciously and very, very carefully. Another question regarding to the preparation was how to select the optional subject. Now, optional subject is something. So you first go in the UPSC website. There is a list of optional subject that you can choose. Now, optional subject consists of both humanities as well as a science-based subject. Now, there are some subjects like mechanical engineering that relates to your field. Many of you may be from mechanical, computer engineering, civil, not civil, but electrical and ENTC. So these subjects are already available in the optional list. There are some engineering subjects like chemical engineering, instrumentation, which are not available in the optional list. Okay, so my first preference, if there is a subject available which relates to your degree, then you can go for that subject right away, because you have already studied that subject in detail for 4 years. For other subjects like humanities, the syllabus mentions that the level of difficulty for humanities will be of MA type. Like if you are selecting the geography, then it will be MSc geography. Okay, that is the syllabus difficulty. So optional subject for humanities, what you can do, you can narrow down your list to 3 or 4 subjects like geography, anthropology, sociology. You can refer the syllabus. You can go through the textbooks and the standard materials, and then you can decide which subject your liking is and which subject you can do better. Okay, again, this will take some time, 1 or 2 months. Or give that time properly to the optional subject, because option is something you don't change very easily. So you will be giving your lot of efforts to the optional subject. So before that, if you're giving 1 or 2 months to decide the optional subjects, it's okay, it's a good time. Okay. Then one more normal question for UPSC preparation is whether you should join the classes, coaching classes, and whether you should join the coaching classes in Pune or Delhi or some other places. First of all, it is not absolutely necessary to join the coaching classes. For my part, I didn't join any coaching classes, not even for the option. There are 2 or 3 reasons why I'm saying this. First of all, the humanities like history, geography, economics, polity, these subjects are not that very difficult to understand, that you will be needing a special coaching for those subjects. Second thing is, nowadays, most of the support is already available in YouTube. If you don't understand any concept, if you don't understand some stuff, you can directly go to YouTube or internet, and you can search for it, and you will be getting the explanatory video or some kind of explanation for that particular subject, right? Third, the resources are also readily available in the market. So that's again not an issue, that for the resources, you don't need to join coaching classes. Now, if at all you really want to join the coaching classes, then Pune also has a number of coaching classes, good coaching classes, like Vision IS branch is already open in the Pune. Then there is a Unique also, and then I think one more coaching institute is there. But Pune also has a very good coaching support. If you at all want to join the coaching classes, you don't need to go to Delhi as such. And in Delhi, there are distinctive advantages why you should go to Delhi. Then because there is a proper infrastructure available in Delhi, but same infrastructure is nowadays is repeating itself in the Pune. So I do not recommend to go to Delhi for the coaching. If you want to join the coaching, you can join in the Pune and do preparation there. Because the other thing is these coaching classes are also very costly, and in Delhi there is extra cost of living and also. So you will be putting yourself on a lots of financial stress, not yourself but your parents also, that you need to also think about. Okay. Then okay, the another set of question is whether you should do the preparation with job or without job, or you should directly start the preparation. Now, thing is, it's depends upon you. It is perfectly fine that you can do the preparation while at a job. It is not very difficult thing as you think. I have done so, and there are others too which have done so. Okay, you can do the preparation while doing your job as well. For that you need to have you need to put up an extra efforts, and you also need to put up an extra management and planning smart techniques like you know techniques like reading for 10 minutes 10 minutes gap, rather than studying for 1 or 2 hours straight. Okay, then finding the gaps between the work, when you get a 10-15 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to utilize those valuable minutes for your studies. But it is absolutely fine to do the preparation along with the job. It is not out of the world. Okay, just because other aspirants do not do job while on preparation, it does not mean that you cannot do it. And rather I recommend to at least develop a on-job skill trend, because we are in the engineering institute. Many of us come here in the search of placement after the 4 years. That might be one of the pulling factor to come to VIT, and that was one of the pulling factor why we actually prepared for the JEE, right? So I have friends who directly started the preparation without taking any job. Okay, and now the condition is such because of the external condition, and as well as the preparation level and the difficulty of exam. I've already talked about the lower success rate in exam. They wanted to get a job, but the problem is, if you are out of the market for 2 years or 3 years, okay, it is very difficult to get a job again in an engineering background. So it's very easy to get a job now when you are at a college or final year, because you have that fresh mindset. But once you are out of the market, dedicatedly preparing for the exam for 2 or 3 years, and then after that you want to get some job, that's a kind of difficult process. So I normally recommend people that while at least starting the preparation, if you are getting some opportunity to work in some company, okay, in your domain, take that opportunity, do your preparation side by side, and once you're sure that no, you want to do preparation only, you don't want to take up that job anymore, then you leave that job, rather than outrightly, rather than just ignoring that opportunity itself. The point is, you should be very clear about what you want to do. If you are very clear, then there's the things get very easy, because this exam is not about how smart you are and how good at your studies. This exam is also about attitude, then mental preparation, and the sustainable efforts. I already talked about this is not one time thing that you just read the stuff and you repeat that in exam. It's more about sustaining yourself and improving. Now the exam pattern of UPSC, you must have seen, because you all are interested in the exam. They do not ask book questions, right? It is not that you will read some stuff in particular book and it will appear in the exam. No, it is not that so. You have to use your brain. You have to collect the information literally from so many sources, one line, and then you make up a good answer, right? So that makes this exam little bit difficult, because the questions are not directly asked. They are thought-provoking questions, and you need to really understand what's going on, whatever you read. Okay, one more sort of question is, how's the interview of UPSC? What is the experience of interview process? Now there are various myths about UPSC interview that, and this is the background of this question, I guess. So my experience of interview question was very, very positive. Actually, I had one of the highest, second highest marks in UPSC interview for 2019 exam, and my experience of interview was very positive. It was the interview wasn't that weird that we thought so, that they will ask you lots of the random question or something. There were some random questions. There were about 60 questions from the different backgrounds, from my hometown, my own experience in my own work experience, my hobbies. Then there were some questions about economy of India, international relations, and so on. But what they look in the interview is how confident you are, whether you have the capacity to become an officer, okay, whether you have capacity to become an administrator, and what is your thought process of to face any question. Okay, they do not expect that you will be answering each and every question, that you will have the knowledge of all the world. But what they want is whether you have a personality to get that knowledge, right? Whether you have a personality to going into the things, whether you have a curiosity to explore. That's what my experience been of UPSC interview. And those who wanted to prepare, please don't think about interview at this stage, because it's a last mile to go. Okay, you will be having plenty of time before interview to prepare yourself. And in general, you cannot change your personality one day or 2 days. It is it is a building in making for forever. So during the course of preparation, you will be experiencing these changes in yourself. You will be much more knowledgeable person. You will be much more mature person to think about various aspects of anything. That's what a UPSC preparation do to you. Whether you will be getting selected or not, you will be experiencing very positive change in your personality. That is for sure.
Now, with your permission, Swapnil, can we take some live questions?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah. So, participants, anyone would like to ask question? So we'll unmute your mic and allow you to speak. So please raise your hand. Yeah, there are few. Darshan is there. So Darshan, you can talk now.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Darshan.
I would like to ask a question about how to prepare the current affairs, because it's the most important thing. So just want in perspective of only mains, because mains we have to give the descriptions. So I just wanted to know how to implement the current affairs into the mains.
That was a complete question, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for current affairs, the sources are, you get a current affairs magazine every month from the different coaching classes. Okay. Then you need to refer to the newspaper daily. Now, many aspirants do not refer newspapers. It's again a personal choice, but I usually recommend the newspaper, especially the editorial section, because it helps enlarging your understanding. Okay. Now, what you what you need to look at the current affairs is particular policy, name of the policy of the government, particular scheme of the government. Many times you just need to mention a scheme, because the question, there are two types of question. One is for 150 words and one is for 250 words. So you really don't get a time to go into much details about each and everything that you read in the current affairs. You will be just mentioning that particular scheme or particular point in 1 or 2 lines or so, otherwise in your uh, answer sheet, right? Unless and until that the question itself is asking you details about the particular policy. So current affairs is more about just knowing that what's happening, what are the overall schemes, what are the development in the section of polity, economy, environment that are happening over the country. Now you need to correlate this development with your static knowledge. For example, I don't know whether you have started or not, but just let me give you an example of polity. Now there is a particular section called Lok Adalat in Lakshmikant polity. Okay? And some few days back, like 7 or 8 days back, there was one editorial on the Lok Adalat, the performance of Lok Adalat. So the question will not be, the question in mains will usually not be about give the description of the Lok Adalat, but the question will be more about what is the performance has been of Lok Adalat and what kind of steps we can take to improve that performance. So you need both material. You need a static information on Lok Adalat, and you need a performance of Lok Adalat that you will be getting that particular editorial. Okay, so your response will be you should collect that particular editorial or information and club it with your static part and read it for the future reference. This is how you compile current affairs with a static material. And of course, one more important thing is your writing abilities. So how you show that particular material in your writing.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more thing many students ask is when should you start writing the answers? Now, see, if you look at the patterns of the exam, the most important thing in exam is the mains, which is for 1750 marks. Okay, you need to write 7 papers, 250 marks each within the 3 hours. Okay, so it's a very tough challenge to complete the paper within a time limit, within the 3 hours. You need to answer the 20 questions. That too for you are writing 3 pages for average for each question. Okay, so you need to improve your writing speed and you need to improve your on-spot thinking abilities. If you think for more than 1 minute, you will be not able to complete your paper and you will be losing your rank. This is for sure. So you cannot afford to think for more than 1 minute. Even 1 minute is higher in the exam environment. You will be having only 30 seconds to think for 250 words. So that ability you need to develop during the preparation.
Thank you so much. Now
Yeah,
we'll have
thank
questions
you,
from Anay. Anay?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, actually, I had a doubt. I cleared GATE 2021. So, sir, whether I should go for GATE 2000, I should opt for IITs I'm getting, or should I directly go for UPSC? So, like as a backup plan, should I go for IITs?
First of all, congratulations, Anay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
For clearing the gate. See, that's what I wanted to clear about, that you should be getting very clear that what you exactly wanted. Like even I had a clear gate and I also had opportunity to go into IITs, but I was pretty sure that I don't want to work in engineering background as such. I wanted to be in administration, and that's why I took a call. But now in this situation, one of my friend, he was in same situation too, so he took the admission to COEP, and then he started preparing. So his experience is that you get plenty of time for preparation there as well. Okay.
Yes,
like I said, that you will be not needing an entire day to prepare. Okay. I never studied 10 hours or 12 hours a day. I cannot do that. My experience is you don't need an entire day to prepare for 1.5 year or 2 years or so. So if you could manage your preparation along with your time at IIT, then you should go for it. And again, IIT is a very good value added experience too. So I think that will help you even if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
go, if your mind changes after all, then you have a backup plan. And
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
that's you to decide.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Now we have another question from Vineet. Vineet?
Yes. Good morning, Swapnil sir.
Good morning, Vineet.
Sir, I've in my 11th and 12th, I saw some videos on YouTube. They said that you can apply for UPSC in the last sem of your third year, so that in the prelims you will be a fourth year appearing candidate. So is it possible, sir?
Yeah, you can appear at the last year, but the another condition is you should have completed your age of 21 years. Okay, and at the time of result, you should have a degree. So if it is getting fit into that timetable, then you can of course apply for the exam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. At the time of interview, they will be needing your degree.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have another question from Swapnil Zadhav.
Yes. Good morning, Swapnil sir.
Good morning, Swapnil.
Yes, sir.
I'll request Swapnil to give your background, because unless he knows what is your background, in which year you are, it will be difficult for him to answer the questions. Please give your background. Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, basically I'm in third year in the information technology field. So my basic question was, every year the candidates, they clear the exam. So there are toppers who give their strategies. So every topper has different strategies. So by watching everyone's video, we get confused. So which strategy to follow, which not. So my question was that how to plan the strategy, not what the strategy is, how to plan our own strategy.
Yes, you are correct. Watching everyone's strategy will get confused, and you should not follow anyone's strategy.
Yes.
Okay. You should not follow anyone blindly, because everyone is at a different level of preparation. And during a preparation, we even don't have that strategy as such. After results, it's very easy to put your strategy on the board, but till that when you're preparing, you don't have that very, very highly complicated strategy as such. What you need to do is you start preparation, with some material. As you go ahead, you will be getting more informed, and you will be getting more intelligent that how you should plan your studies, because at this stage you don't know what subject, what difficulties you will face. Like someone will face difficulty in history, someone will find economics very easy. Okay, so it will differ from person to person, and you will not knowing that before you start your preparation. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So referring any strategy just for starting the preparation, and after that you will be getting more intelligent yourself to make your own strategy and not to follow anyone.
Yes, sir. And sir, I have one more.
Hello, your voice is breaking, Swapnil.
Is it audible, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, I was having one more question, that can you tell your brief experience during the preparation, the challenges, etc.?
Okay, now my challenges was, I was preparing with a job. So for first 6 months I was in production, and the production is quite tough, because you don't even get a weekends off. Many times I had to go to work on a weekend too. So I was finding it very difficult to manage time. Like I could manage 3-4 hours a day, but I wanted more times, and that was getting difficult, and I was getting frustrated. Okay, so managing your frustration level along with the job is quite a task that you need to do. The second thing is I was constantly on move. As a project engineer, I needed to go to overseas to look for the project. Okay, so I never had this there were difficulties, to refer to the hard copies. So I always refer to the soft copies. And one of the problem with the soft copy is the note making can become a problematic task. So there I needed to skillfully do the task. Second thing is, for optional, actually I wanted to find some coaching support for my optional, or at least the question paper. But because I was on constantly moving terms, I could not get that coaching support required. So this is that the challenge you need to manage when you are at a job. So these were the challenges that I briefly faced during my preparation. And of course, there are other challenges, like many times you don't get off even, and when you have work, you need to give to priority to your work. So that are some challenges that you will face if you're doing the preparation while at a job. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Swapnil, you have rightly said, when you win, you definitely can say that there was a strategy.
Yeah.
So you label it as a strategy. So everyone should have his own way of studying. And if they win, that becomes a strategy. Now we'll take two more questions. So we have Someshwar and Mahamuni. So Someshwar, please ask your question.
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to ask the question. And first of all, congratulations, Swapnil sir, for securing an AR rank. I am pass out of 2019 batch. I have done my BTech Electronics. I'm a VIT, of course. So right now I'm doing a job in private sector. So I'm aiming to give my prelims in 2022. So my question is, like, what is the difference between a successful candidate and a candidate who has not got success? Because we have seen many rankers who have given multiple attempts to be successful. Like take for example, Tukaram Munde sir. He had given like 4 to 5 attempts and he couldn't secure a rank. But in his last attempt, he was so successful that he got a top 100 rank. So what is the difference, would you point out, between these two things?
See, the main difference is how many mistakes you correct before your actual exam. Okay. So many times candidates, they do not realize what mistake they are doing. And because of that, they don't get success. So the important thing is to realize as many as possible mistakes that you might do, before exam. So that may be in writing, that may be solving prelims question. Okay, interview is a different thing that we'll talk about. The important thing is the solving the mains paper and prelims paper. Okay, so more practice you do about these two things, more you will be getting comfortable and more getting confident. Okay, these two, I think this is the most important thing that I can point out between those who succeed and those who not. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now we have Vishwajit Mahamuni.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Vishwajit.
Sir, I'm basically a first year student, and to clear the UPSC is my dream from my childhood. But I'm not getting a moment that I should start. Means I just have searched a lot of things on YouTube or Google. So they are saying that you should start with the NCERTs. I bought them and I just started the NCERTs. But when I was reading them, I just felt that a lot of matter is waste there. So it is not necessary to prepare for the UPSC. So it is not mandatory. So how should I start, sir? Means I'm reading the NCERTs, but I'm not getting actually a hold on it. Means I'm not getting exactly what should I point out from the NCERTs that will help me to keep on preparing for the UPSC.
Okay, Vishwajit, my suggestion will be that you are in first year. Okay,
Yes.
so now don't go for much particular thing that, okay, this will be helpful in exam and this will be not. Okay, My personal suggestion is that you read it as a story, because when you're reading the NCERT, you read it as a fun element and not for the study itself. So,
but sir,
see,
is it mandatory?
NCERTs are not mandatory. Okay, and even if you want to start, then I'll be sharing one document with Swati ma'am that there I have already given that from which point you should start, okay, and which sources you should refer.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be sharing that with her, that you can refer. But my suggestion will be, if you're in first year, don't start too much particular thing. Okay, this first or two. First and second year you can actually explore, read the stuff just for as a fun element, okay, just to get a information, not exactly in the exam point of view, because you have a lot of time. And this will definitely help you, because when we relax, when our mind is relaxed and we just get the information without any stress that okay, this will be coming exam, this not will be coming exam, the preparation is actually better. That's what I have realized. So this is my personal suggestion. But on the first year, you don't need to stress about. And see, these 4 years of college are very important in building your personality. So I'll definitely do not suggest that you should sit in a room and just study for the UPSC, and you do not take part in Vishwakarandak or Milange or any other activities, because VIT is full of activities. I'll strongly recommend that you should take activities very seriously. These are very important for your personality building. Do not take extracurricular activities very lightly.
Thank you so much. So your personality, how you build your personality in these 4 years, that also reflects a lot, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
We'll take one last question, because we have one raised hand here. So Krishna Agha, maybe.
Hello. Yeah. Hello, Swapnil sir. I'm Krishna Agha of 2020 batch. Currently, I'm working in private company. I have 2 questions. So one is how you differentiated the preparation for prelims, then mains, especially before the 3 months of prelims or like that.
And another question was?
And second is, I knew like you are preparing while job. So how did you manage the 1 month before mains examination? Because that was very important time.
Okay. To answer the first question, before 2 months, I started to dedicatedly prepare for the prelims. Now, preparation for prelims is mains and prelims syllabus are mostly overlapping. There are some elements which are only for prelims, and some are for mains. But overall syllabus is mostly overlapping. If you are preparing for mains since start, you will be, of course, very knowledgeable for prelims as well. Preparation for prelims means maximum solving the maximum papers, question papers. Point out your mistakes, where you are doing the mistakes in question paper. What is your like how many questions you are getting correct out of the 100 questions. Because prelims is more about mathematical calculation, because you need to just clear the cutoff, that is around 105, 110 marks. Okay, you don't need to have 180 or 200 marks itself, right? You need to just have 110 marks. And there is one more element of negative marking in it. So you need to be very sure that which questions you are solving and which questions you are letting go, and how many questions you are solving. So this judgment will come from the question papers that you solve. Higher the number of question papers that you will solve, you will be getting more confident. Okay, if I solve the questions in the range of 70 to 80, I am getting good marks. If I am going beyond that, I am getting negative marking more, right? If I am losing out of 70 questions, then I am not getting the expected cutoff marks. So this is the judgment you need to develop for the prelims, and that is one key success point for the prelims itself. Okay. Because syllabus is not that much different, and of course you need to revise the current affairs more. You need to rather than going into nitty-gritties of policy making, the need for policy that we usually go for the mains. Here in the prelims, the requirement is keywords like key terms of the policy or some details like how many percentage will be given by the center, how many percentage by state and all. I'm not going into details here, but that's the crux of it. And the second thing is my experience before mains. So actually that when I gave the exam in 2019, that year only I had to switch my job to a new company. So I could not, and I was hardly there for 4 months before my mains. So I could not ask for 1 month of off or so. Okay, so I got only 10 days of off for my mains examination that particular weekend. So I was mentally prepared that I will be not getting any off for dedication preparation to mains. So I prepared that accordingly. I did not expect that I will be getting much more time. So what I did is I since start I focused more on the answer writing, because I knew that I'll be doing the job, so I will not get much time for the at the end hour for answer writing and all. So I need to develop the technique way since start. So I was doing that, right?
Thank you. Now we are moving towards conclusion. Now we have 91 students still connected, and as I understand, those are the ones who are really interested in. We have been getting a raised hand from Pranav Kharade for long. Somehow I missed it. So I'll take his question before we conclude. So Pranav, please come up with your question.
Thank you. So hello, sir. Swapnil, sir.
Hello, Pranav.
So sir, I am from first year in mechanical branch. So I am preparing from CDS for defense forces. I tried for NDA, but I missed the cutoff. So I'm preparing for CDS exam. So what you can give me the strategy from first year onwards
for CDS?
CDS.
So may I just come in? This for CDS, we'll be conducting another session in details. This session has focus on UPSC, Pranav. So if you have anything to ask about UPSC, please ask. For CDS, okay. For CDS, Madam has presented, and that presentation will be sharing with you. But if you have any particular question on UPSC, please ask.
Okay, no, only CDS.
Okay. Sorry, Pranav, I could not give my insight on CDS because I don't have very particular information about it. But someone was asking in the comment box how to become the Chief of Staff. Okay. So Chief of Staff, Cabinet Secretary, National Security Advisor, all these posts, for the all these posts, you cannot get this post directly. So for example, the Cabinet Secretary, so you will be getting inducted into civil services by the civil services exam. This is the most highest level of induction into services. The same goes for CDS as well. Okay, from NDA you get into the army hierarchy or the armed forces hierarchy, and in same way through the civil services exam you get into hierarchy of civil services, and with time and with your seniority and performance, of course, you will be you can rise up to this level of Cabinet Secretary, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff, Chief of Army Staff, and other very important posts. Okay, one of the important thing why people go for civil services, because these are very strategic posts in nature, and you can have lot of influence at this post, of course.
Thank you so much. So with this, we are coming to the end of this wonderful session. So a lot of inputs we got from you, Swapnil. Thank you so much. Gayatri Madam and Aparna Madam, it was a wonderful presentation by you. Thank you so much. And thank you all the participants who are patiently connected here. Swapnil, I would like to tell you that we are starting one VIT alumni mentorship program, and through which such question answer series will be there, where students will be asking questions and our alumni will be answering those. So soon we are coming out with exact details of how we can do that. So I guess rather than just presentation or one-way communication, it will be good if such question answer sessions happen more frequently. So we are definitely moving towards it. Thank you again. Thank you, Swapnil. Thank you,
ma'am. And I'll be sharing that strategy documents with you, so you can share with the students here.
Yes, yes. We'll be sharing with all interested students. So students, they can connect to us and we'll be giving you whatever information Swapnil will be sharing with us. And thank you, Gagan. This is our WOW team. They maintain our alumni portal, and it is through their career center that we conduct these programs. Thank you, Gagan.
You're welcome, ma'am.
So Swapnil, may we conclude this session?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, participants. Thanks again.